What's up, guys? Jason Julius here, and it is so good to see all of your beautiful faces today. Now, I got a comment from a guy last week that said something like, "Hey, Jason, I think that I found my wife's G-spot, but when I touched it, she barely reacted. Maybe she just doesn't have a sensitive G-spot." Now, honestly, I get a version of that in my inbox almost every single week, if not every day. So I want to make this video specifically for that guy and for the thousands of you who are running into the exact same wall, because here's what's really happening, right? You did find the spot. The spot is real. The reason she didn't react is not that her G-spot is broken or unresponsive or being difficult or different. It's that her G-spot, the way that it actually works in her body, has to do something first before it can give her any pleasure at all. It has to swell up. It has to engorge. Now, the G-spot does not start to swell from the stimulation itself. The G-spot swells from arousal, foreplay, anticipation, and everything that happens before you even go there. By the time your finger or penis arrives at the spot, it should already be coming online. If it is not, you're too early, and no amount of pressure or rhythm is going to fix that. In fact, it might actually feel uncomfortable or kind of like she has to pee if it's not fully engorged yet. That's because the G-spot is not a button. It is a tissue that becomes engorged as a result of a state in her body, and just as importantly, a state in yours. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly where the G-spot is, including a little trick that I've used for years to help guys know that they've found it. And I'm going to walk you through what actually causes that tissue to swell. I'm going to call that the Swell Secret, because it is the part of the puzzle that most guys skip right over. And also the mental side of getting her there is just as important as the physical. So we're going to bring it all together like sweet apple pie. All right, first things first, let's clear up the biggest misconception about the G-spot, because if your mental model is off, the rest of this is really not going to work for you. Now, most guys think of the G-spot like a switch on the wall, right? Like there's this one specific dot, and if you push that dot just right, magically she's gonna have an orgasm. That's not how this works at all. The G-spot is not a switch, it is not a button, and it is not a dot. The G-spot is a piece of tissue called the urethral sponge, and it sits behind the upper wall of the vagina, and it is erectile tissue. That last part is really important. So here's exactly where it lives. If you imagine your woman lying on her back and you enter her with your index or middle finger palm up, you slide in, about a knuckle and a half to 2 knuckles inside, so about 1 to 2 inches inside of her, and then you press up towards the front wall. That is the zone. It's not very deep, and a lot of guys go way too deep and even sometimes end up at her A spot, and they completely miss the G spot, which is sitting right there in just a few inches inside. Now, what are you actually feeling for? You're feeling for a change in texture. The rest of the vaginal wall feels pretty smooth, almost kind of satin-like, right? Now the G-spot is going to feel different. It's a little ridged, a little textured. So here's a trick that I've used for years to help guys understand exactly what they're looking for. So if you take your thumb and you put it on the roof of your mouth like this, and you feel that ridge up there, that gives you a good reference for what you're looking for, that ridged feeling. Now, the G-spot is going to be softer than the roof of your mouth, of course, because we're talking about tissue, but the texture, the ridged feeling, that is sort of the landmark that you're looking for. Now, here's one critical caveat to this. The G-spot only feels like that when she is aroused. If she is not aroused yet, that tissue is going to feel flat, kind of hard to find. Maybe even you can't even feel it all. Right? So as she gets aroused, that front wall starts to engorge and the G-spot balloons up almost like a sponge. And that ridged texture becomes way more pronounced and easier to find. So if you're diving down there cold with no warm up and you're wondering why you cannot feel anything distinct, it could be because that spot hasn't come online yet. She's not aroused enough yet, right? But the spot is real. It is just not awake or really in that state of arousal yet. So just like your penis needs arousal to get hard, so does her G-spot need arousal to swell up. which means the real question is not how to stimulate the G-spot, really. It's the real question is how to get her so turned on that the spot is already engorged before you ever even go there. Now, as I mentioned, the Swell Secret is not about stimulating the G-spot until it swells. It is about getting her into such an aroused state that by the time you go there, the G-spot is already swelling. The spot is the destination. The buildup is the engine. Now, what does the buildup look like? It could be things like sexy context. Remember, women have responsive desire. So sexy context goes a long way. And it looks like foreplay. It is anticipation. It is stimulating every area around the G-spot before you ever go to it. And honestly, it is keeping her guessing, keeping her anticipating. She doesn't know if you're going to go there next or what you're going to do next. Are you going to stay where you are? Or are you going to move somewhere else entirely? And that uncertainty is what lights up her body, because anticipation is one of the most powerful arousal drivers that a woman has. So you can tease her inner thighs, tease near the vaginal opening without actually entering her. Massage her outer lips, the outside of her labia where the legs of the clitoris are, get her nice and warmed up, indirect stimulation to her clitoris. All of these things, you're moving along slowly, and then you move up to her clitoris and start stimulating her there. You use your mouth, use your fingers, use your breath, make her wait for it, right? And get her anticipating and highly turned on. Now, here's something that I want every guy watching this to take seriously. Sometimes the best thing that you can do before going to the G-spot is just give her a clitoral orgasm first, right? I'm serious. If she has already had a clitoral orgasm, her whole pelvic region is flushed with blood. The G-spot is already engorged, and the tissue is going to be pronounced and sensitive the moment that your finger arrives, or your penis if you're having intercourse, right? Plus, she'll already be in an orgasmic state mentally, right? You can go from that clitoral orgasm right into G-spot stimulation. And that is one of the best paths to a G-spot orgasm, is to give her an orgasm via clitoral stimulation, or maybe even A-spot stimulation first. Now, here is where the mental side comes in, and I want you to feel how inseparable it is from the physical. For her body to engorge, swell up, or get that erectile tissue very aroused, for the G-spot to swell, she has to be in an aroused state, but more than that, she has to be in what is called an orgasmic state, which is a deep alpha brainwave state where alpha brainwaves are super abundant. And that is a state where her thinking mind goes quiet and her body takes over. That to-do list in her head, it disappears. The self-consciousness that she has disappears completely. She drops that mental chatter and goes into pure sensation. Now, she cannot get there if she's in her head, and she will not get out of her head unless you are out of your own head. And her nervous system is reading your nervous system the entire time, right? If you're anxious, or if you're performing and trying really hard, if you're checking your watch to see how long it's taking, or wondering, if she's close to the orgasm, all that stuff where you're in your own head, she feels every single bit of it. And her body stays on the mental brakes when she feels that from you. And this is where she has to feel two things from you, and they have to be real, not performed. Number one, she has to feel safe. Safe doesn't mean nice or physically safe. Safe means that you are the unshakable energy in the room. You're not in a hurry. You're not anxious. You're not chasing an outcome. Your nervous system is grounded, and she can let go because you are holding the container. That is the energy of discipline. The discipline to stay still, stay present, drop the agenda. And without that, she has nowhere to surrender to. With it, her body starts softening before you've even gotten close to the G-spot. Now, number two, she has to feel seen. And here's where most guys get this wrong. Seen is not just paying attention to her. Seeing is her feeling that you are doing this because it really turns you on to see her pleasured, right? Not because you're trying to give her something, trying to give her an orgasm, and not because you're trying to prove yourself or something like that. Because watching her body respond and hearing her sounds, feeling her open under your hands, it lights you up, and she can feel that. And you convey that with your own actions. You moan, you make eye contact, and she can see and feel how turned on you get by doing this to her or for her. She feels it in your body language that her pleasure is your pleasure. The moment that lands for her, she stops worrying about whether she's taking too long. She stops being self-conscious, because if it is turning you on, then there's no clock, there's no pressure. When she feels safe and she feels seen, she drops into her body. She drops into that alpha brainwave state. And the engorgement starts happening before your finger ever even gets to the G-spot. That's really the swell secret. That is what nobody really tells you. Okay, so by now, if you have built it correctly, her body is open. Her front wall is engorged. Her G-spot is starting to feel pronounced and ridged. Way more obvious than it would have been 10 minutes ago, right? Now you can penetrate her with your finger to start vaginal stimulation. So what you're going to do is insert your index or middle finger palm up and start rubbing the front vaginal wall. Again, she's laying on her back. You're rubbing the front vaginal wall, all the way around. But I don't want you to start right at her G-spot. I want you to enter her and start stimulating the side walls. Stimulate everywhere but her G-spot. You can even pull your finger out, turn it around, and down. Don't ever twist your finger while you're inside of her. That can feel very uncomfortable and annoying. If you pull it out and go down, there's a ligament right there that helps her pelvic floor relax. So that's a little trick that you can use to go down and stimulate the bottom floor. Pull your finger back out, twist around, come back, and just start to stimulate all of her vaginal wall except for her G-spot. You're teasing her. You're building anticipation, right? Avoid going right for her G-spot. You want to, tease her, build that anticipation, and stimulate her outer walls. When you do that, it's going to bring blood flow all around her whole entire pelvis. And so you're building up the anticipation for it. Now, when you're ready to stimulate her G-spot, you're just going to go about 2 knuckles in and find that textured area and use a strong come here motion on the front wall, just like that. And so you're going to be curling your finger back towards yourself and hooking the tissue and pulling it forward. Then release, then again, steady, rhythmic, but firm. You're not being aggressive with it, but it is a pretty firm pressure that you're going to be using. It's going to be a steady rhythm, and that's really key that you keep that rhythm steady so that she can surrender into it. She's not, wondering if you're going to keep that for her, especially as she gets closer and closer to orgasm. You don't want to be switching up the rhythm. You want to keep it consistent. Most guys get to the spot and they get maybe a little reaction from her. They get excited and, they immediately start changing things up, faster, harder, new angle. Don't be that guy. Don't do it. Steady rhythm is what builds the wave towards her orgasm. Now, here's the third piece of what she needs to feel from you. She has to feel stirred. And stirred is, in this moment, in this context, means you take control so she has permission to lose control. You are leading. You are not asking. You are not checking in every 30 seconds. You're present. You're in command. And your energy says, I got this. That is energy of a leader. And you're also bringing uninhibited desire. And when leadership and uninhibited desire are working together, that's where she can really surrender. She wants to give herself to a man that she deeply trusts and deeply respects. And that trust comes from your steadiness. And that respect comes from your ownership of the moment. Now, when she gets close, she might tense up. She might say something like, I don't know if I can finish, or I feel like I have to pee. That second one in particular happens when the engorgement is putting pressure on the urethra. That swelling is actually female ejaculate building up. And just before she releases to have a squirting orgasm, it can feel like she has to urinate. However, there's a sphincter muscle that clamps off her urine so that the ejaculate can come out. And it's been studied, guys. It is real. Female ejaculation has similar properties to male ejaculate because it comes from the female prostate. And I've helped thousands of people over the last 19 years achieve this. And it's a very, very powerful ejaculatory orgasm. And women experience a full body convulsing, type of orgasm when they experience this. And it's absolutely beautiful. It's absolutely natural. And you want to help her get past any mental blocks that she might have towards letting it go, right? So she's getting close. Just stay there. Hold eye contact with her. Slow your own breath even more and lead her through it. Tell her with your presence and with your words, like if you have to, that she's safe to let go. Something simple. You could say something like, I've got you. Let go for me. I want you to let it go. I want you to give yourself to me completely. Let it go. Simple. All right. That is the Swell Secret. Now, the G-spot is their urethral sponge, and it engorges from arousal and anticipation, not from direct stimulation alone. So most of the work happens before you ever go there. Build context, stimulate everything around it. Sometimes maybe even give her a clitoral orgasm first and weave the mental side through the whole thing because she has to feel safe, seen, and stirred for her body to open up and surrender. Now, I know seeing exactly how to find that spot, the angle, the pressure, the come here motion can be a little bit tricky to pick up from me just talking to the camera and on this platform. So I have an educational training over on my blog that shows you a tasteful demonstration of exactly how to stimulate the G-spot. It's purely educational, no nudity, just a clear visual breakdown of the technique. And I go further on that training and walk you through how to take her past G-spot orgasm into a full body squirting release as well. So if you want to check it out, head over to jasonjulius.com/squirt to watch that training now. I'll put the link in the description below. All right, if this video helped you, do me a favor and tickle that little thumbs up button down below the video. It really helps the channel reach more guys that need to see this, and it really means the world to me. And make sure that you're subscribed because I have a lot more coming up. And drop me a comment if you have any questions, if there's anything specific that you want me to dig into next. I read all the comments, and amazing comments often turn into the next video. So I'll see you in the next one.